You know, there was a time when I believed in people. Not just the good ones, but everyone. I thought if I was kind enough, honest enough, if I gave my trust freely, then the world would give it back. I believed in fairness, in loyalty, in promises that meant something. But that was the old me. Naive, soft, too willing to be hurt. I was the guy who always showed up, the one who forgave too fast, the one who swallowed pride just to keep peace. And for a while, it worked. I had people around, me, friends, maybe even something like love. But then cracks started to show. Little betrayals, small lies, silent betrayals disguised as accidents. I ignored them at first, told myself it was nothing, that people make mistakes. But the cracks got bigger, the pain got louder, and I realized the world wasn't as kind as I thought. That innocence, it was a weakness, and I was about to lose it all. You think betrayal is just one moment, one cut that bleeds and fades away. But no, betrayal isn't a single cut. It's 1,000 little stabs. Silent, invisible, but they pile up until you can't stand anymore. I didn't see it coming at first, because I trusted too much. Because I believed people were better than that. They smiled to my face. They said the right words. They made promises that sounded real. But behind all those smiles, there was something else. Jealousy, selfishness, the kind of hatred that hides behind fake loyalty. I gave my all, every piece of my heart, and they used it. Like a tool, like a weapon. And when I looked for help, when I looked for someone to stand with me, they turned away. Not just strangers, not just enemies, friends, family, people I thought cared. They didn't want to get involved. They didn't want to hear the truth. They didn't want to choose sides. And so I was left alone, alone with the pain. Alone with the questions. Why? How? Was it my fault? I asked myself over and over. Maybe if I was better. Maybe if I said the right words. Maybe if I was stronger. But the truth? Sometimes it's not about you. Sometimes people are just broken. Broken in ways you can't fix. Broken in ways that hurt you instead. And that's the hardest thing to accept, because you want to believe the best. You want to believe people can change. You want to believe you're worth fighting for, but they don't fight. They don't care. They leave, and the world keeps turning, and you're left standing there, trying to hold yourself together. And that's where the real pain begins. Not from the betrayal itself, but from the silence that follows. The silence of no apology, no explanation, no closure, just emptiness. I remember nights when I couldn't sleep, thinking about what I lost, thinking about what I thought was real. The anger started small, like a firecracker in the dark, but it grew. It grew until it was a wildfire, burning through every memory, every hope, every piece of trust I had left. But here's the thing about fire. It burns, yes, but it also cleans. It clears the old, makes space for something new. That's when I started to change, because you can't stay broken forever. You either let the pain consume you, or you use it to build something stronger. You think pain just breaks you, and leaves you empty. But pain is smarter than that. Pain is a teacher. A cruel one, sure, but a teacher nonetheless. There was a moment when I stopped trying to be the good guy, when I stopped pretending that kindness alone would save me. Because the world doesn't care about kindness. It never did. It only cares about power. I remember it clearly. The moment when everything inside me snapped. The moment I realized that if I kept playing by their rules, I would never win. I'd always be the one left broken. The one who gave too much. The one who begged for scraps of respect. I was done with that. Done being the innocent one who trusts too much. Done being the fool who smiles while getting stabbed in the back. I looked at myself in the mirror one day, and I didn't. Like the man staring back, he was weak. He was soft. He was tired, and I asked myself, who do I want to be? The broken boy who cries in silence, or the monster who finally fights back? That question changed everything, because I chose to fight. I chose to survive. No matter the cost, swallowed the pride that told me to forgive and forget. I ignored the voices that said I should keep the peace. I embraced the anger, the rage that lived inside me. That rage became my fuel. It pushed me forward when I wanted to give up. It sharpened my mind when I felt lost. It gave me strength when I thought I had none. And with every step I took away from who I used to be, I felt something else growing inside me. A darkness. Not a darkness of defeat, but a darkness of power. I learned that sometimes to survive, you have to be the villain in your own story, because the world doesn't give a damn about your pain. It only respects strength, and strength doesn't come from kindness. It comes from knowing when to stop caring, when to stop trying to fix what's already broken, when to accept that some battles are won by becoming the thing you once feared. I became that thing, not because I wanted to hurt others, but because had no other choice, because survival meant shedding the skin of the good guy and stepping into the role everyone warned me about. The villain. I didn't ask for it. I didn't want it, but I took it, and I wore it like armor, because that armor saved me. It kept me safe from the knives they threw, from the lies they spread, from the poison they tried to feed me. And when you wear that armor, you don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to hide your scars. You don't have to explain yourself. You become untouchable. And in that moment, I realized the villain isn't weak. The villain isn't heartless. The villain is smart. The villain is strong. The villain survives. So yeah, I became the villain. Because the old me was dead. And the new me? He's unstoppable. They called me the villain, like it was a curse, like it was something to be ashamed of. But here's the truth, no one wants to say out loud. Sometimes you have to be the villain, because the world isn't built for the innocent. It's built for the ruthless, for the strong, for those who aren't afraid to walk through the fire and come out burning. I stopped fighting against the label. I stopped trying to explain myself to those who never wanted to understand. I wore the villain's mask with pride, because that mask saved me. Behind that mask, I found something I never had before. Power. Real power. Not the fake kind that people pretend to have when they smile and shake your hand. Not the kind that disappears when the lights go out, but the kind of power that comes from owning your pain, your anger, your darkness. The power to say no. The power to walk away. The power to stop begging for love or respect. I became cold. I became distant. I became someone who didn't care about the opinions of those who once judged me. And you know what? It felt good. It felt like freedom. Because when you embrace your shadow, you stop running from yourself. You stop hiding your scars. You stop pretending you're something you're not. I became the person I needed to be, not the person they wanted me to be. I became the storm that scared them, the fire that burned their illusions, the monster they warned their children about. But that monster, he's not evil. He's just real. He's just honest. He's the only one left standing after all the lies and betrayal. And that's the power of becoming the villain. You stop waiting for permission. You stop seeking approval. You take what you deserve. You create your own rules, your own path. Because when you've been broken and beaten down and left for dead, the only way forward is through the darkness. And on the other side of that darkness, there's only one thing waiting: your true self. You've heard the story now, the one nobody wants to admit, that sometimes to survive, you have to become the villain. But here's the real truth. Being the villain doesn't mean you lost your soul. It means you found your strength. It means you stopped being a victim. You stopped waiting for someone else to save you. You took control. You took your power back. And that takes courage. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone will understand. But if you've been through the fire, if you've been betrayed, hurt, and left alone, then you know exactly what I mean. So don't be afraid to own your story. Don't be afraid to wear your scars like armor. Don't be afraid to be the villain in a world full of pretenders. Because in the end, the only thing that matters is that you survive. You rise. You become unstoppable. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to become the villain to survive? What did that look like for you? Drop your story in the comments below. Let's talk about what it really means to fight back, because you're not alone in this. And sometimes the darkest stories hold the greatest strength.